Welcome to the 10th video in this series, making a 2D racer in Unity. In this one, what we're going to do is start using our track data that we've generated. Specifically, we're going to look at this radius factor, and we're going to use that to make the car slow down into corners and accelerate out of the corners. In addition to that, we'll also add some skill profiles to make the car start behaving a little bit differently. So the way we're going to control the speed is pretty straightforward, actually. We're going to have our car driving along, and we have our current waypoint target. As we reach each one, that gets set to the next. On each of those waypoints, we have this radius factor. What we're going to do is get this radius factor each time we get a new target, and we're going to set ourselves a target speed, and we'll do that by interpolating between a maximum speed and a minimum speed. If the radius factor is a1, which is the highest, then we'll be at our minimum speed, and if it's 0, we'll be at our maximum speed. In other words, with a tight corner, we'll end up with a radius factor of near 1, so that'll cause us to be at minimum speed. Along the straights, it'll be near 0, so we'll be driving quickly. And as we go from waypoint to waypoint, we'll also apply a little bit of smoothing for the speed so that we don't end up with stops and abrupt accelerations. And what you should see by the end is a nice effect of it sort of braking into corners, speeding up out, braking, speeding up, and so on. Now, when we come to do it in the code, we won't do it exactly like I've just described to you. What we're actually going to do is take the radius factor of not the next waypoint, but the one ahead of that. And the reason for that's a little bit easier to see, actually, if we run the current game. Then back in the Unity IDE, if we actually have a look at our actual track, we can see now that we're having the high speed here with these green ones, low radius factor, and then lowest speed possible with these red ones here. What we'll also have to do is smooth the speed changes a little bit, otherwise they'll be really abrupt and look a little bit silly. And the waypoint targeting itself, if we start, say, braking for this first red one, whilst we've got past this one where my mouse is here, it's actually a little bit late. We need to brake earlier for a realistic looking driving. So we'll adjust the code to go 2 waypoints ahead, and we might even go 3 waypoints ahead for the target radius factor. We'll see how it looks. And with the app running here, actually, on the right hand side, a quick reminder of the settings that I have in the track builder, because I've been playing around with this. I have the interval for this track at 0.6. Then max and min, 10 and 1 for the radius. The radius curve is starting, if I remember, about 0.4. Yes, it is down here, going up to 1 on the right-hand side. And then wall search distance 5, lateral offset 1.2, collision 0.02, and the track edge set as the layer. This is an easy one to forget. So I'll close that down, and then go to the car, actually. And I don't have a CPU car component, actually, on here. So I'm going to click Add Component. You might have one. I've been messing around with this, and I don't have one at the moment. So I'm going to select that, and then give it a little bit more speed, I think, than that, and also some more steer strength to go up to about 11 on here. I'd like to play this very quickly to make sure everything's working as expected. So I'm following the waypoints around the track, and then we're good to go. Yes, that looks all right. Okay, then good. So let's close this down. So to get all this up and running, the car needs to be able to grab from its current waypoint target what the radius factor is. So I'm going to go into the scripts here, into the car, and move this up a little bit. Where are we? CPUCarMovement. And if we scroll down into the CPUCarMovement, we can see that in the move towards target here, that's where we're setting our velocity, which is this particular speed here, which at the moment is fixed at the top here. This is what we're going to vary according to the radius factor. Now, when we go ahead and calculate this, we don't really want to be calculating this in every single frame, say inside the fixed update, because we're not changing our target waypoint every single frame. Now, it's not much of an intensive calculation, so it wouldn't really matter, I don't think, if we put it in the fixed update. Nevertheless, there's probably a cleaner way to do it, and that's actually have the car waypoints here signal to us when we have a new waypoint, and then the CPUCarMovement can react to this signal and recalculate its target speed. So we'll start off by making the signal and checking in the debugger that we can actually see this signal. So we're going to need an action here. So at the top here, we'll put using system, and then below the current waypoint here, we can add in a public event action on waypoint advanced, and we're going to invoke this when we have a new waypoint. Now we'll initially do this actually in the initialize here. So we'll do on waypoint advanced, check whether we actually have anything subscribed, and then we can invoke that immediately. And then we also want to invoke this when we're actually updating, which is down here. So I'll put some curly braces around this, and we can invoke this here and cut this line and drop it here. Now we want to connect ourselves up to this action here so we receive it. Now we have to be a little bit careful with the order of things here. So in our track builder, we're actually building everything inside the start here. So that's after the awake and the enable. It's inside there that we're initializing our waypoints. So if we go to our car waypoints, when the initialize from the start of the track builder is invoked, that's when we're first invoking this. Now we want to make sure we're subscribed to this before this happens here. So if we go to the CPUCarMovement, we don't want to do the subscription inside the start, otherwise we could be too late depending on what order things are invoked inside our tree. So what we'll actually do is we'll use the enable for this. So below the awake then we can add in the private void on enable, and inside here then we'll get hold of our car waypoints dot and on waypoint advanced plus equals, and we'll make a new function called update target. Then we can click here and we can generate this method. Inside here for now, what I'd like to do is just simply log to the console that we're actually picking this up. So as we go through the waypoints, we should see something down in here. So we'll get hold of the waypoint, which should be the car waypoint's current waypoint. And then what we can do is log the radius factor of this waypoint, and we should see these being broadcast as the game is running. So let's go back into the IDE. Or actually, before we do that, what we need to do is disable, don't we? So what I'm going to do is copy and paste this here and change this to on disable. And here we can minus equals update target. Now, what I'm not doing here actually is checking whether this is null or not. Now, it is a required component, so it shouldn't be, but nevertheless, I guess what we could do here is a little bit of a check. So we'll say that if car waypoint is equal to null, then we'll return. This really shouldn't happen, but we'll put it in anyway. I'm always uncomfortable with assuming things are there when they might not be. Okay, so just before we go into the IDE, to double check here, the car waypoints, so in the initialize, which is called from the track builder in the start, we invoke this to say that the waypoint has been advanced effectively, setting up the target speeds then for the CPU car. Then we're logging the initialize. Let's cut this actually and put this here. So we've got everything in nice order, and I'll say complete here so we know that it's complete. So once it's complete, it should then invoke its signal, and that should be picked up by the CPUCarMovement, which should then log that effectively it's advanced to the next waypoint, and it should have then that radius factor, which will be the radius factor of the first waypoint. So back in the Unity IDE then, let's run this, and we should see inside the console some logs here of some waypoints, hopefully. Anyway, so let's have a look. Yes, I saw it change there, and it's changing. Excellent, good. So let's go to the console. Let's double check this. So we got 0.52, 1, 0.29, and where did we start? So we had initialize complete, and this was the first one with a radius factor of 0.03, and you can see that the first radius factor then gets set to 0.03 on the CPU car. Cool, so we don't have any strange sort of life cycle issues there. So I'll clear up the console, just quickly drop back into the code. What we will probably need to do, in fact, I know we'll need to do, is at least do .next here and take the next waypoint further along. Otherwise, the braking will simply be too late. And later on, we might even have to do next.next. We'll see how it goes. So now let's set up this interpolation we want to do between a minimum and a maximum speed. So in the CPUCarMovement, scrolling up to the top here, we'll change the speed here for a max speed, and then we'll put in a minimum speed as well, so a min speed. And the max speed we'll set for now, say to, let's say 5.0, and the minimum speed can be 1.0, which is pretty low. And then the steer strength here, we can set this maybe to 11, otherwise we're going to end up circling around the waypoints. And then what we'll do inside the update target here is we'll update a target speed based on the waypoint. To do that, we'll create ourselves a private variable that we can call target speed. And then we can set that target speed inside the update target here. So our target speed is going to be equal to mathf.lerp. And we're going to be linear interpolating from our max speed, remember that's for the lower radius factor, to our min speed, and then we need the radius factor, which is going to be our waypoint.next.radius factor. And then what we can do is we can set the target speed here, and we'll put the target speed in here. Okay, then we can make use of this further down here where we've got some red. The velocity should now be our target speed. And looking at this steer strength, I'd like to change the name of this, actually. I think let's change it to steer reaction. And I get hold of that and go back down the bottom here. It's a little bit more descriptive than it was before. So do Control-S to save. So what should happen now is we should see some nice speed variations of the car. And maybe to demonstrate what I was talking about with the waypoints, let's actually delete the next from here for now. Go back into the IDE. And then back in the IDE, I'm going to select the car and check the values. We've got max 1, steer reaction 11, that looks good. So what we can do then is run the application. Now it is going to look a little bit odd here. That's because we're snapping the speeds. In a bit we're going to actually interpolate them, so we have smooth deceleration, acceleration. For now though, let's have a look at the speed snapping. So it's going to really go slowly, I think probably, yeah, in the corners. But you can see it speeding up and slowing down, which is what we're going for. Now the changes in speed are really abrupt. As I said, we're going to interpolate and smooth that out. The main thing now is just checking that it is working, and it seems to be working okay. What you can definitely see here is the late slowdown in the corners. So the tight radiuses are too far around the corner for realistic driving. So what we can do is try and improve that. Actually, what I'm going to do is just let this go around here and let's see where it really gets. So yeah, it really slows down sort of here where my mouse is. Let's see if we can get that to go back a little bit, which will allow it to be a little bit more realistic. So back inside VS Code then, let's put the next and probably .next actually into here. Then go back into the IDE and then run the application again. And it will still be jerky, but it should be a little bit better in terms of when it's deciding to brake for the corner. So let's say, yeah, now it's slowed down earlier and now it's accelerating out. That's better. That's much better. You could argue actually it's maybe a little bit too early with the accelerations now, but certainly it's going to look, I think when we've smoothed it, a lot more realistic. All right then, so let's close that down. So back inside the code then, what we can do in the CPUCarMovement is we can now deal with this smooth sort of accelerating and braking. And what we'll do is we'll add 2 values for this, one for acceleration and one for braking. And then you'll see in a bit, we'll make a scriptable object where we can actually customize a profile for a car and have the cars accelerate and brake at different rates, which is a nice way, I think, to give them different personality and also skills. So we'll make a new serialized field here, and we'll call this acceleration reaction or accel reaction. And then we'll also have a brake reaction. Initially, we'll set these to the same value. So I'll say 2.0f and 2.0f. Now we can use these down where we're updating the velocity. Here it is. Okay, so first thing we want to do here is grab hold of what our reaction is. So we'll say a float and call this a reaction. And that's going to be equal to, and we want to know whether our target speed is greater than our current velocity. If it is, then we're accelerating. So we want the acceleration reaction. Otherwise, we want the braking reaction. And now what we'll do is linear interpolate our velocity. So we'll grab hold of mathf.lerp. And we want to lerp from our current motor velocity. We're going to our target speed. And we're going with then our reaction multiplied by delta time. Now the multiplication of something by delta time can be a little bit confusing here when you first see it. Effectively what we're doing is saying slow down the amount that we're moving towards our target the closer we get to it. So it's a sort of kind of easing, if you like. But with this done, we should see a much smoother car on the track. So back in the Unity IDE then, I'm going to leave all the defaults as they are here and just hit play, and we should end up hopefully with a much less jerky behavior than we had before. So let's have a look. Okay, yeah, I can already see that's much better than it was before, and it's also braking quite nicely as well. That's not too bad at all. The speed ranges are quite extreme with the 5 and the 1 here. Nevertheless, that's actually pretty good, and if we didn't see the dots, it wouldn't look too bad. It is slowing down maybe a little bit too much, so we can stop this here, and maybe what we can do, you can either adjust the min speed or actually have it not brake very quickly, but let's adjust the minimum speed first of all, then we'll look at the acceleration and the braking. So I'll run this again. So let's have a look, and yes, we're getting a much smoother profile now into and out of the corners, and obviously the values are quite tunable there. So I'm going to press stop there. Let's do something extreme with these. Let's have a look. We'll do the brake reaction actually quite, we'll do the minimum speed back to 1 and the brake reaction quite high, so really extreme braking. And let's make the acceleration really low. Let's do 0.4. Let's see if we see a difference in the behavior. Does it actually accelerate at all now? We're about to find out. So let's have a look. So here, yeah, okay, you can see it's really sluggish off the line and really slowing down, and it's just struggling to accelerate. Oh, that's pretty good, actually. Let's try giving it some really good acceleration reaction as well. So let's try this. So we should whiz off the line to start this one. Oh, there we go. Okay, much quicker. So we can see, okay, the braking also is much too hard. I'm sure you get the idea. It's a little bit extreme now, but these make it really nicely configurable now to configure the behavior of our car. We're not dealing with deviations yet from the line. That's coming up in the next video, but we do have quite a good customization already of the behavior. So I'll stop that and move this back up a little bit here. So what would be nice here really is rather than having these as serialized fields, is actually to have them as scriptable objects. So we can create lots of profiles inside here and drag and drop and swap them in and out as we need. So to finish off, let's do that. So I'll go to the scriptable objects here and then right click in here, create scripting and scriptable object, and I'll call this car profile SO, and then double click on that. So in here, we're going to have very similar properties to the CPU car movement. So I'm going to go to the top here and we'll take the steer reaction, acceleration reaction and brake reaction here and copy those and go back to the profile and paste. For the speed, we're going to do things slightly differently. Actually, I will go back and take these here and put these in here. The speeds, what we'll do is we'll have a range of speeds, I think, which allows us, again, to customize things a little bit between different profiles of cars. So what we'll do is we'll make these vector 2s, and we'll call this the max speed range. And then we can also have the min speed range as well. And this will then be a new vector 2, and we'll go from 4.0, say, to 6.0. And this one down here then can be maybe from 1.5 to 2. And obviously we're going to need the public getters as well. So I'll paste some of these in here. So we're going to have the steer reaction and I'll speed this up. Okay, so that sets up the scriptable objects. Let's use this on the CPU car movement. So we'll go over to the CPU car movement. Let's serialize a field which we can call a profile. And this will be of type then our CPU car profile. And we'll delete that off there. And we can delete all the values inside here because they're inside our profile. Now, when we set things up here, we are going to need to calculate what are our speed ranges from the profile that we have. So we'll make another private float here, and we'll call this allowed max speed, and then we can have an allowed minimum speed. And then let's go to the player car movement. I think I had a start in here. I'm going to copy this from here. It's a little bit dangerous just to save a little bit of time. And then below the on enable here, let's paste that in here. So here what we're wanting to check here is whether we have actually a profile or not. Then we'll delete the stats from here because we don't need it, and we'll delete this as well. And then scrolling down a bit, I'm going to take this debug log from here and paste this in here, and then just put no profile. Otherwise, we can set up the max speeds. So we'll say that our allowed max speed is going to be equal to, and then we want a random.range, and we get squiggly lines. Okay, that's because we've got system and Unity in here. I don't think we know system at all inside here. Let's have a look. That's better. And we're going then from our profile dots, max speed range.x and max speed range.y. And then we can do the same thing for the allowed min speed as well. And then with those set up, we can use the allowed max speed down for the target speed here and the allowed minimum speed. And now we'll have some red for sure somewhere down the bottom here. Here we are. So for the steer reaction, we need our profile.steer reaction. And then here we want the profile acceleration reaction and the profile brake reaction. Gone slightly off the edge there. Hopefully you can see that okay though. What I'll do is put this on a new line. There we go. All right, so Control S to save, and that should now be using our Scriptable object profile so we can configure lots of different profiles of cars inside the inspector. Okay, so back in the IDE, in Assets, Data, Car, I'm going to right click here and go to Create, Scriptable Objects, and we can create then a car profile here. So we'll call this medium, why not? And then let's have a look. We have a speed range, which we'll leave, the min speed range, which we'll leave, and in fact, we'll leave everything as is now, and we'll put 2 cars in, and they should be slightly different because of the randomness of the speed ranges. So I'll select this car up here then, and for the profile, we can find our medium, and then let's select that car and Control D to duplicate, and the second one, let's get the move tool here and just move you slightly out the way, and also change your profile maybe to Tigger, why not? Do Control S to save. Now there's been a little bit of a fade there because I've been ahead actually and checked that everything's working okay before wasting your time and finding some errors, and the good news is it is working. The effect here with these settings is quite dramatic. Tigger, the blue car, is quite a bit faster than the other one simply because it's able to accelerate and the other one can't. The thing I did notice is sometimes Tigger with the steering strength is actually struggling a tiny bit on the corners, but in general things are working really nicely, and even with these settings the cars have got quite a bit of a personality. So I'll turn the gizmos back on. You can see there how they're behaving, and hopefully it's working okay for you. So I'm going to close that down and bring this up a little bit. And with that done, I think we've made another really, really good step. We've made use of all of the complexity of setting up this track data. What we're going to do then in the next video is actually make use of the deviation data that we have so we can get lower skilled cars to actually go off the ideal racing line. So thanks very much for watching this one. Comments and questions welcome as always, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.